Hey brothers, in today's video, I'm going to respond to some of the questions that you have given me. I posted on our community tab on YouTube, and you guys have provided a plethora of questions relating around men in dating. And so I just thought, let's have a casual sit down. This is going to be a longer video. So if you don't have time, save this for later. But if you just want to play this in the background, this is a great video for that because there's a whole bunch of questions here and I think they deserve an answer. I'm not an expert on this stuff. Okay. I'm going to just put that out there for you. But as we're talking through this, as I'm working through it, I hope that this is going to begin to prick some thoughts in your mind as well that you can share with us in the comments below. So without further ado, let's dive in. But first, as always, my name's Isaac, and this is Men on Mission, where I equip you to lead and love like Jesus. If that's something that you're interested in, subscribe because I'm putting out new videos all the time. If you want to go deeper in this community of brothers, I'd encourage you to join the Kindred Brothers Club. And on there we're going to have weekly video calls. By the time you're watching this video, we might have already started them because we're going to launch it at 50 members. As at the time of me recording this video, we're at 36. So we're right there. So join and see when the first video call is. We'd love to see you on there. We're going to talk about our struggles, where we want to grow, and just hang out as guys on a weekly basis. It's going to be a lot of fun. So now into the video. When is the right time to ask my girlfriend to marry me? This has got a few upvotes, so I thought I would answer this one here. First, I would start with you. Before you talk about the relationship, ask yourself some questions. Okay, do you have a vision for your life? Do you know where you're going? What is your financial situation? What's your work situation? Can you actually provide for this girl? Can you give her a home? Where are you at spiritually? From 1 to 10. If it's a 2, that's cause for concern. I don't know if you should be entering a marriage if you're only a 2 on that scale, right? Get yourself right before you enter something more serious. Once you've asked yourself those kind of pivotal questions that I hope you would have asked yourself pretty early on in the relationship or maybe even before dating, ask yourself about the relationship itself. Have you guys talked about this? Is marriage something you've talked about? I sure hope so. But I'm surprised every day at how many relationships go on for an extended period of time and they don't talk about it. I don't know why. Maybe it's awkward. I don't know. But to me, I'm like, that is the reason that I'm dating you, is to potentially see if you would be my wife. And likewise, I would hope that that's your intention as well. If you haven't watched the video where I share 18 questions that you need to ask her, I would go to that video and go to level 3, because on there, that's the questions that you should ask really before you get engaged, okay? Or once you're engaged. Those are going to be really helpful for you, I think, in navigating what level are you really at. Definitely talk to her. Don't spring it on her. Ask her where she's at and what are some of her fears and doubts about marriage. And if you're both there and you have, support from wise counsel around you, I would say that as long as you're of age, then go for it, Next question. How do I know for sure if she's the one for me to marry? If I'm uncertain, does that equal that she's not the right one, or that I have things in my life that hinder me from getting married? So this is an important question. This is kind of a question you need to ask yourself is, are you the type of person to question things a lot? Really, you're not a decision maker. You second guess your decisions. And if that's the case, then I wouldn't take your questioning of this as a sign that you shouldn't be together. On the other hand, if you're usually somebody that has a good time, easy time, making decisions, and yet for some reason, there's something in you that's saying, I don't know if this is right. Trust that instinct and explore it. Write down, seriously, what are my fears? What are the things that I'm scared of? What are the questions that I have in my heart? Truthfully, I don't know what to say to you because for me, things are black and white. I'm either in or I'm not in. So I've never really struggled with being in the middle and being kind of confused about it. I can understand just trying to evaluate things if you don't have enough information, but maybe that just means you should date for a little longer or, whatever to figure out if you're really right for each other. I'm a Christian who takes my faith seriously, and I've been spending time with a girl who also identifies as a Christian. Her family is more culturally or liberally Christian, and while she isn't very familiar with Scripture, she seems to have a desire to know God more. I'm wondering how I should approach the situation, especially as someone who wants to spiritually lead in a relationship without forcing anything. How do I discern if this is something to keep pursuing, or how can I support her growth without taking on a savior role? Okay, I think the thing that I'm honing in here is that she has a desire to know more about God. I really do believe that you should not be unequally yoked with somebody. So if they're not actually a Christian, then you should get out of that relationship. And that's a favor to them too, because, hey, you know what? We're misaligned on this. This is going to create tension in our relationship, and we just should take a break at the very least. But it sounds like she might be a Christian, just a baby Christian, and she desires to know God more. If that's the case, I don't think there's any problem in walking alongside her and helping her understand these things. Dating doesn't have to be this intense situation where it's so serious and there's physical boundaries that are being crossed and all this sorts of things where baggage is created. Like, it's okay. You like each other. You're committed to each other to a certain level, maybe your boyfriend and girlfriend, and she has less knowledge about the Bible than you. That's not the end of the world, but she needs to have some sort of relationship with God. If it becomes an issue where she's not wanting to conform her life to the Bible, if all of a sudden, you're seeing that she's not actually that interested in Christianity, that's a red flag. That's something that needs to be dealt with. But if the desire is there and her heart is there and she is truly a child of God, at least that's what she says, and there's fruit that comes from that, then I wouldn't see that this is a deal breaker necessarily. I wouldn't come in and trying to be like, okay, well, let me put you through this, my own personal course of getting to know the Bible and all these things. And each week we're going to, just go in depth and that's going to be on me. No, like, I hope she would be, and you'd want her to be plugged into a local church, ladies that can help teach her and grow with her and mentor her. Like, that's what you should be wanting, because that, as much as you want to spiritually lead, you're a boyfriend, right? You're not at that level of husband. So things are different. And if you do get into that space of like, okay, I'm going to be spiritually leading her right now, and I'm going to tell her everything she needs to know about Jesus all the time, then yeah, it can feel like that savior role, and you're trying to, bring her up to the level that you are. That gets into icky territory. You really don't want to do that, I don't think. So many of us have never dated before or have no clue on how to go about starting a relationship with someone. I think the video we need on dating is a tutorial on what to do to find and start dating a good Christian woman, because the church isn't cutting it. First thing I'd say is that you don't need to put so much intensity onto the idea of dating or being in a relationship. I was single for 23 years, which to some people is not that long, and to other people that feels like a long time. Never had a girlfriend until my wife. And so there was an element of so much pressure I put on it, like, okay, how does this even work? And what are the mechanics? And what are the do's? And what are the don'ts? And so what I did, I poured myself into Christian books on dating and relationships. I probably read 15 to 20 books on dating and relationships as a single guy. And you know what? Sure, like the first few shared some good things, but then after that, nothing was really that helpful once I met the girl, once I met my wife. It didn't really resonate, because real world is so much different. I could give you a step list, a to-do list of all the things you need to do to start a relationship and how to start dating somebody, and some of that stuff might be helpful, but at the end of the day, every situation is so different. What you truly need is discernment and wisdom. Those are the two things that you need. Like, I could give you a scenario, right? Okay, there's somebody in your church. There's a girl in your church that you're interested in. This is pretty common. And you want to talk to her, but you don't really know her that well. And she seems to always be hanging out with her girlfriends. And so it just seems difficult to try to make your way in there. I've seen a number of Christian guys do this very, very poorly, and they'll send some sort of email or text to her, pouring out their feelings towards her and being like, I just really want to get to know you better. And I feel like we could have a great future together and stuff like that. And they lay it on so thick that it scares the girl. Don't do this. Don't do this. I guess what I would say is less of advice on what to do and more advice what not to do. Don't lay it on thick. If you have opportunities, then join in community groups at church or whatever else you're doing and volunteer at church, serving groups. See if there's environments where you can get to know this girl a little bit better and just be chill about it. Put no pressure on it. You don't know this girl. The stakes are not high. You have this fantasy in your mind of what this girl could be and who this girl is, but she might not be all that it's cracked up to be anyway. So putting this pressure on yourself that you need to say everything right and do everything right, it's just not worth it. So what I'd encourage you is, open yourself up to opportunities where you can talk to her, where you can talk to women in general that are at your church, that are in your community, and just ask questions. Get good at asking questions and follow-up questions. there comes to a point that you want to ask her on a date. Maybe you've gotten to know each other a little bit and you say, hey, this is exactly what I would say. Hey, I've really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit. I was wondering if you might want to go on a date with me sometime. Would you be interested in going out sometime? There's a moment of silence here that guys want to just like fill to the end of days. They'll just, talk and talk and talk and try to qualify it and say, oh no, it's okay if you don't want to, and all this stuff. It's like, just leave it. Just leave it. Just get her to respond. And I don't know, like a lot of times, honestly, if you're just upfront like that and you've got to know her a little bit, she might be honest with you and say, hey, you know what? I'm not really interested in that kind of relationship, but I really appreciate you as a friend. Like, okay, that's the worst that could happen. I mean, maybe not the worst. She could throw like a pie or tomato in your face. But at the same time, it's like, okay, that's generally the worst thing that happens. The best case, she says, sure, what did you have in mind? And you say, well, we could meet up for coffee on Tuesday at 7:00. How does that sound? And she says, yeah, that's great. Oh my goodness, you did it. Like that, you're in, man. Okay. Then once you're thinking about starting a relationship, this is how it went for my wife and I. And like I said, this is so different for different situations. So this is just one example. Is after I asked my wife out, we went on 3 dates or so. And after the 3rd date, I said, hey, I like you. I'm not interested in playing games. My wife quotes this all the time because I kept saying this. I'm not interested in playing games. I am interested in having a relationship that potentially would go further and lead to marriage. That's what I'm in it for. So I'd really like to get to know you more, but I just want to take that next step. And I'm not saying I said everything perfectly, but she understood what I was saying. Okay, I'm not playing games. He's intentionally asking me, yeah, like I want to take that next step. And then I was basically like, okay, so boyfriend, girlfriend, like, it's messy stuff. It's not the same for everybody. But that was just kind of like the steps that it took. How would you describe being financially stable? Also, I don't remember if you've done a video on males and females being friends, but what are your thoughts? Let's just do the first one. The second one, you can hear in depth my opinion on males and females being friends. I've done 2 videos on it thus far, so check out the catalog on my YouTube channel. What does it mean to be financially stable? Because often I will say that this is one of the things that you need to ask yourself if you're looking to start dating, or definitely if you're looking to get married. Here's what I would say is that we live in a difficult time. Like, there's no question about it. Bills are tight. It is hard to save money. It's hard to just, operate unless you're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. You have an engineer, you have a high paying job. Things are tough. So I'm not saying that you need to be completely 100% stable, like nothing could ever happen to you, because that's just unrealistic, right? Your parents potentially are financially stable because they've had years and years and years of saving, of investing, of all that kind of stuff. So they, something dramatic isn't really going to happen to them, but you don't have that kind of time. So here's what I would say is that you want some savings. That's true. Definitely. You want a job that can pay for your basic needs. That's good. And you need vision for where you want to go, the skills that you want to develop. Those 3 things I think are the most essential. At the end of the day, man, so many people have gotten married at early ages and they've gotten through it and they didn't have a lot. And that honestly brings you together. It's better to start with a smaller amount and work through that and learn how to manage your money than to come in with like, oh man, I got all this money. And meanwhile, you're just living above your means. And then you encounter, bigger challenges later on. So being financially stable is a good thing. And I think it just means that you have a paying job that can provide for your needs. Lay out a budget of what you spend. If you live with your parents right now, I want you to look at, average rent prices in your area for what you would need if you get married. I want you to look at, car insurance, driver's insurance, health insurance, all the different insurances, food costs, and ask people around you that are living on their own or are married, what do you spend on this? Like, do you have a mock budget? Can I look at it? That is going to better prepare you for what you need to provide for this girl financially. Please answer this question. Okay, I'm answering the question. I really want to start dating and get married, but I struggle with online lust. Not pornography, just inappropriate pictures and videos. I feel like this is a problem that would stop if I started dating or was married. 1 Corinthians 7:9 seems to reinforce my thinking when it says, it's better to marry than to burn with lust. Is it okay for me to pursue a girl and start dating? If not, how long do I need to wait until I completely knock this habit to start dating? See already that there's going to be those of you watching this that relate to this question. You're Maybe you're not caught in pornography particularly, but it's definitely lust. It's definitely a hold on lust. It's pictures, it's videos, it's social media, and you really have this desire to get married. Like this guy, you feel like, okay, well, maybe the Bible's saying here that I should just get married real quick and then that would go away. Here's what I would say, honestly, is that marriage does help that lust to a degree. Okay, to a degree, because now you do have an outlet of that sexuality. Okay. But that being said, is you can't necessarily always count on that, right? Maybe there's a time where your wife is having a baby, right? And you're not having sex at that point, right? There's a period of time where that's not happening. Do you have self-control to manage yourself in that context, right? Or maybe there's some health issue that your wife experienced. So you can't just like 100% rely on her to fulfill those needs in you so then you don't fall into temptation. I hope you know what I'm saying here. So that being said, is that when you enter dating as well, if you're still struggling with lust, if this is a big thing with you and you can't exhibit self-control on that, why do you think you'll be able to exhibit self-control on a woman, like a real woman that you're attracted to that likes you too, and you're supposed to be setting up these physical boundaries and being the spiritual leader and all this kind of thing? Why do you think that that's going to be so much easier for you or better for you? Now, there is a point of time that you might get in a relationship if you still have this issue, and there'll be a buffer period where it feels like all those issues and all those temptations are just pushed away and you don't even experience them anymore. And you're like, oh, I'm cured. It's great. But then you'll get more comfortable. And then what you come to realize is, man, I actually still need to fight this stuff. Okay, so here's the deal, is that I would say is that I don't want you to be motivated by desperation and getting in a relationship so you can fulfill this, so you can deal with this issue. I want you to focus on how can I deal with this now. I hope that you've already downloaded Covenant Eyes. If you guys haven't already, 30 days free in my description, helps men and women stay accountable online. The other piece is admitting this to a friend, like saying, hey, I don't struggle with pornography, but I struggle with lust online. Can you keep me accountable? Can you ask me about this stuff? I don't think we need to be legalistic about talking about a specific time period that you need to go, without looking at something lustful online and then you can get in a relationship, because I just think that's unreasonable. It's about a heart posture. Where is your heart? Are you battling this stuff? Are you actually setting up boundaries? Are you truly warring against the sin, putting it to death? Or is it just kind of apathetic, like, it doesn't really matter because I'm not in a relationship and it's not hurting anybody anyway. It's not like I'm cheating on anybody. That kind of mentality is going to reverberate into your relationship. You need to snuff it out now. Do you think long distance can work? I've never done long distance. I know a bunch of people that have done long distance. The tricky thing is you need to have a significant level of commitments to communication. I noticed that long distance relationships break down when communication is sparse. And when you're not honestly communicating your feelings. There was this one friend that was frustrated because his partner would wait until the very end of the day to video call him. And then she would finally do it at the end of the day. She was exhausted. It would be about 15 minutes. She wouldn't have too much to say, he would feel disconnected, and then they would just end it. And this would go on for, a couple months, and it was really frustrating for him. But what he didn't do was say, this is a problem. This is something that needs to be changed. Like, I can't work with this. I need you to be, I need more time connecting with you in a different context, saying it in a nice way, obviously, but still communicating what you need. And so that's the biggest piece of advice I guess I could give. Where's the red line at dating and having a relationship, especially regarding intimacy? Kiss, hug, touch. This is from one of our channel members, so thank you very much for becoming a channel member. I appreciate it. Where's the red line? Well, the Bible talks about fornication, so that's pretty clear, right? Okay, no sex before marriage. This is something that we're not going to do, right? But then you look at, if you look at a woman, to lust after her, you've committed adultery with her in your heart, right? This doesn't just apply to the married man who looks at another woman. This applies to any man who looks at any woman, right? You're committing this sin in your heart. God is concerned with the heart level. So the question is can you kiss, can you hug, can you touch without that lustful energy, without that lustful feeling? And so for some people, you say, yeah, I can hug them. That's just a point of connection. I can touch them in some ways. That's a point of connection. But here's what I would say, just as an older brother type thing. Me and my wife, we made some mistakes in terms of going too far in the physical realm, and we ended up falling into a lot of temptation, right? And it was just because we didn't set clear boundaries early on. We let those things slide, which wasn't a good decision. Now, it wasn't dramatic. There wasn't big things big mistakes that we made necessarily, but we definitely pushed it further than we would have liked in retrospect. And that was because we didn't set those clear boundaries. So I would just have an honest conversation. If the other person doesn't really have any expectations of what the physical boundaries should be, you as a man, lay those down and know that that stuff will come. Like there'll be a point of time where that stuff will just be free and you don't have to think about it and worry about it. But right now, you're also trying to protect her heart, and you don't know 100% that you're going to marry this girl. And by allowing yourself to be intimate in kind of any context, even if that's not sex, just intimate kissing and stuff like that, you're playing with her heart. You're playing with her heart, and I would be really careful about that. How do you stay out of the friend zone after you've taken her out on a date? What's the way to keep the dates going and not just to be friends? The biggest thing I could say here is communication, right? Being intentional about how you communicate with her. You go out on a first date, awesome, right? What do you say after that first date? You say, hey, good to meet you. Nice to, see you around. No, you say, hey, I really enjoyed this time with you. I was wondering if you'd like to go on another date sometime, maybe next week. And she says, yeah, actually, that would be great. Awesome. And you go out on another date. And I would say maybe a few dates in, you communicate your intention. Say, hey, I've enjoyed getting to know you. I'd like us to be, more than friends. I'd like us to take that next step. I really like you. And if she friend zones you, she friend zones you, right? As long as you're communicating about what your intentions are, that you want to be more than friends, then it's up to her whether she wants to oblige that or not. Guys fall into this trap of not really communicating their expectations, and then when it doesn't go anywhere, they become like, oh, I guess she didn't really like me. Meanwhile, she was just waiting for you to say what you're interested in. Well, guys, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and have some feedback for me about some of my responses, maybe you disagree, I'd love to hear from you and your perspective on it. Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, keep pursuing the mission.